Hi everybody, Mr. Farmer here, and today we're talking about Chapter 25, the demand for resources. So we're going to be going over is, first off, why would you even want to do this? Second, what is derived demand? Some new things called marginal revenue product and marginal resource cost, sometimes called some other things. Those are going to be our new marginal revenues and marginal cost curves. The determinants of resource demand, and finally elasticity. So you can see we're going to talk about a lot of different things, and the reason why is we have all the background information from the product market. So again, previously we looked at how much goods or services should cost. Why would somebody want to buy that good or service? And so we're looking at the product market. Now we're looking at the other side, that resource market, looking at the pricing and employment of resources, mostly on the labor side, but it could be extended to other things as well. So first off, why do we care? Well, if I know how much workers are getting paid, I know how much I can sell something for. If it costs me $10 to produce, I should probably charge more than $10. So just basic accounting says we should know how much it costs to do that kind of stuff. So why else? Well, to try and minimize the cost. The lower the price, the greater the profit. And that price now is on the resource side of things. So we try and minimize that, get it as low as possible. Now before we just had the cost curves, ATC, AVC, AFC, and all that kind of stuff. So right now we're only focusing on one aspect, one variable resource. Again, usually it's going to be labor. And so it's going to be one aspect. How do we make sure we get the most out of just that one? Now, labor is a pretty important resource to look at, which is why there is definitely a focus on it. And the last two are, one, resource allocation. Do we need to move anything around? There's a survey done at some point. Do you feel underutilized in your job? And 35% of people said, often I feel underutilized. Now, it's a survey and you don't know everything about this. There wasn't much about this information. But the idea is this. Could you do more for the business? Are you being paid too much or too little for what you bring to the table? If so, how do we make sure it's the right thing? Are you doing the function you should be doing, or is there a better spot for you? Or is there a better, maybe it's a machine, computer system, whatever else it is. And also just policy issues. The government plays a role if it's a regulation, if it's a tax, whatever else it is. And so that needs to go into our consideration when we're investing in things. Are we investing in green energy? Is there a tax break if we do solar panels for our business? Okay, that's something to consider through our costs. So again, why do we care? It's pretty simple. To get the most out of your resources. You should be aware of your spending and it should be equal or hopefully less for your than your actual income. You should be using your resources efficiently. Do you get the most bang for your buck? Are there external factors to be considered, like government situations? Now to the main event, derived demand. So derived demand is the demand for a resource product is directly related to what the resource can be used for and the demand for those products. So derived demand is the idea that the demand for this resource, whatever else it might be, is derived from the demand for what they produce. For example, the demand for iron, let's just say that's a component of cars, the demand for iron is derived from the demand for cars. So kind of think of it like complementary goods. If there's an increase in the demand for the cars, therefore there's an increase in demand for the iron or the labor or the whatever else it might be. So previously we looked at a thing called marginal product, the additional output based on the increase of one resource. Now this is great. It helped us out a lot, figure out the cost curves. But for the resource market, for a business owner, we need to look at some slightly different things. A thing called marginal revenue product, or MRP. Marginal revenue product is the change in total revenue with each additional unit of resource hired, acquired, whatever else it is. The equation, pretty much the same. Change in total revenue divided by the change in resource quantity. There is a second one, which is marginal revenue times marginal product, but we really don't use that, and I really do prefer to use the change in total revenue. It works 100% of the time to do it this way. The other times, it's actually more of a hassle than anything else, typically speaking. You can do price times marginal product, but that actually is not marginal revenue product. It's in a different equation, a different outcome. Still useful, but not something we will use. So for a perfectly competitive industry, and again, I know it's perfectly competitive because the product price does not change. This would be, again, perfect competition, like we talked about in earlier chapters. So for this one, I do the marginal product. So you do that still the same way. Or actually, I do my total product times my product price. So I get 7 times 2 equals 14. 13 times 2, 26. 18 times 2, 36. And I'm going to do the change. So for this one, not applicable. 14 minus 0 divided by 1 minus 0 equals 14. 26 minus 14 divided by 2 minus 1 equals 12. And so forth. 36 minus 26, and so forth and so forth. Now, one thing to notice, because we're in perfect competition, my product price is my marginal revenue. So we go back, marginal product times marginal revenue does equal marginal revenue product. So 7 times 2, 14, 6 times 2, 12, 5 times 2, 10, but only because we're in perfect competition. For what about for an imperfectly competitive marketplace? Well, I know it's imperfectly competitive because, again, the product price changes. 280, 260, 240, we're now facing that down sloping demand curve, and then we have our marginal revenue curve down here as well. So this is the imperfect competition, monopoly competition, monopoly, we're not sure which one. So again, all I'm going to do is my product price, my total product times the product price. 7 times 260 equals the 1820. 13 times 240, 3120. 18 times 220, 3960. And then from there, I'm going to do the same equation. Change in total revenue. So 18.2 minus 0 divided by 31.2 minus 18.2 divided by 2 minus 1, 13. Okay, and so again, for this first one, it would equal at 7 times, or marginal product times the product price, 7 times 2.6, that one would work. From there on, though, just like before, we would have a bit of a gap there, so you can't just do it. So 6 times 2.4 is not $13. It doesn't work to do it this way. Again, you come up with a different equation, so don't use that. That's why I prefer to use the change in total revenue. Sometimes I'll put total revenue product, remember it's in the resource market, divided by the change in the quantity. And again, that's of the resource this time. Typically labor, but again, you could put this towards other things as well. So now for our marginal cost version in the resource market, what we call marginal resource cost. Sometimes it's called other things like marginal factor cost, and I have occasionally seen marginal labor cost, but that's pretty rare. It's the amount each additional unit of resource adds to the firm's total cost. So the equation as before is change in total cost divided by the change in the resource quantity. How about profit maximization? The quantity maximization is now marginal revenue product equal to marginal resource cost. It's the exact same equation as the product market for the exact same reasons as well. This is going to tell me how many workers to hire, how many machines to have, or how many hours to run, depending on what inputs you're putting, will tell us. But again, usually it's going to be number of workers to employ. So determinants of resource demand. Supply is pretty much are they available, and we're going to assume there's a large amount available for us. More on that later chapters. So the demand, changes in the product demanded. Now again, we're talking about derived demands. So if there's an increased demand for the final good, then there's going to be a change, probably an increase in demand for the resources associated with that product. Change in productivity. Is that resource more productive? Well, again, the overall demand for us is going to be this marginal revenue product. That's going to be what's going to happen. So if there's an increase in productivity, there's going to be an increase in the marginal revenue product, which means there's an increase in money produced by that resource for that business owner. Increase in demand. And this is kind of the best way to kind of understand what's happening here. And then alternative situations. What about substitution? We still have the substitute effect. As the price of a substitute good changes, the substitute will be affected accordingly. So the typical question is, should I get a piece of capital or machine to do this? Or should I hire somebody to do this? Well, which gets me the most bang for my buck? The machine, the human, something else? Okay, some other product, whatever happens. And then we have a complementary effect. It's actually technically called the output effect. As the price of a complementary good changes, the firm will start to produce more units in general, thus increasing demand for other resources. So kind of the way I like to think about this is if we have good X and good Y, actually I'll do it this way. We have labor and we have a machine. And we have $100 to spend on this. If typically the labor costs $10 and this costs $10, and I have 5 units of this and 5 units of this, add these numbers together, 50 and 50, great, I get $100 out of it. Okay. But what if all of a sudden this complementary, this machine gets cheaper, so now it only costs $5 to run, and it still only costs, I have 5 units costing me $5, I have $25. So where's that extra money go? Well, the logic of this is maybe this money could be put towards this. I want to keep that worker on hand. They know how to use the machine. I still have the budget for it. It makes sense to do that. Great, I'm going to go ahead and put that money towards them. So again, if I have 5 workers instead of $5, now they're going to go for more, maybe $15. There's my 75, and I still spent my $100. So because there's a decrease in the price of the machinery, there's going to be an increase in the demand or an increase in the resource market price for this labor. There's going to go in opposite directions. But if this gets more expensive now, it's going to come from somewhere. If you look in our textbook, the McConnell Brew, 17th edition, table 25.4 goes a little bit more in depth into this if you'd like. Elasticity. Again, the elasticity is how sensitive are producers to change in their resource prices. So if the price goes up or down, what happens to the demand for those resources? So there's 3 determinants. So if there's a change in the resource price, the wages, how does that impact the quantity demanded for this market? Is a large impact, meaning highly elastic if there's any change in the wage from wage to wage 1, is there going to be a large impact? Or is it going to be pretty inelastic with a change in the wage desired? Is there going to be a pretty small change here? This is still more elastic. This is still more inelastic. Well, how easy is it to substitute that? Are you something like a neurosurgeon? Well, not super substitutable. It takes who knows how many years to become a neurosurgeon. You can't just swap somebody out and say, hey, you can do it. No. Okay, playing Operation as a kid on that game doesn't make you a neurosurgeon. It takes a long time. So there's an increase in wages. Whoever the demander is, the hospital or whatever else, they're less likely to let people go. Meanwhile, if it's something that is highly substitutable, grocery store bagger, okay, does not take years and years in order to figure this out. And so, hey, I want to get paid more. we'll just get the next person in here. Second is how elastic is the demand for the final good or service? Because again, we're talking about derived demand. So if the good itself is highly elastic, well, then the demand for the resource associated with it would also be more elastic. And if the good is more inelastic, like brain surgery, the good itself is going to be more inelastic as well. Last is, just like on the demand side for the product market, is the how big of a cost is it? Is it relatively small or large cost to the overall cost? If it's relatively small, more inelastic. Doesn't cost as much, it's not big of a deal. If it's a rather large change in the cost, okay, you might want to think about it, look at other substitutes available. So the equation we'll be using the midpoint formula, although more and more College Board is using the elasticity coefficient equation, but midpoint formula is still totally fine. So percentage change in resource quantity divided by the percent change in the resource price. It's the exact same. In fact, the rules are the exact same. We are still using absolute values even. Is it less than 1, equal to 1, greater than 1? Chapter 18 is still the same. So if wages increase from $10 to $15 and the employer changes from employing 20 people to 18 people, what is the resource elasticity? So the equation as we put it, it would be 20 minus 18 divided by 20 minus 18 divided by 2, so 19. That would be the percentage change in the quantity demanded, over 10 minus 15 divided by the 12.5 equals percentage change in price. Okay, so we got 2 over 19 over negative 5 over 12.5. So we're going to go to 2 over 9 times 7.5 over 5. So we got 15 over 45. That'll be less than 1. Inelastic. So again, the takeaways from this are, and what we talked about is, first off, why do we need to care about this? Okay, we determine the resource pricing. It makes sense as the bottom line. Then we talk about what is derived demands, was marginal revenue product, marginal resource cost, also known as marginal factor cost, or again, I can occasionally see marginal labor cost, or MLC. We talk about the determinants of resources demand, and finally the elasticity of the resources demands. Hope that helps. Till next time.